الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده. الحمد لله الذي كتب الآثار ونسخ الآجال والقلوب عنده مفضية والسر عنده علانية، والحلال ما أحل والحرام ما حرم والدين ما شرع والخلق خلقه والعبد عبده وهو الله اللطيف الخبير. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا. وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وقال تعالى لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. وقال تعالى لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المرء مع من أحب. My dear respected brothers and respected elders, we are prone by nature to imitate, to mimic, to copy. Man is predisposed by nature to imitate somebody, to copy somebody. The young mimics the old. The weak mimics the strong. The student mimics the teacher. The poor mimics the rich. We all, by nature, we tend to copy. We feel a sense of affiliation. We feel a sense of bond with the people we imitate. Imitation has such a powerful impact on our behavior and character. The one who wears the clothing of the scholars feels associated with them. The one who wears the clothing of the athlete feels connected to them. It is an established fact that a man's actions are far more superior in influence and effective than their words. This is evident from the incident of Sulh Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, where in the time of Prophet ﷺ, after the 6th Hijri, after 6 years of migrating from Mecca to Medina, he returned back to Medina to perform Umrah with some of his companions. When he reached a place called Hudaybiyah outside the outskirts of Mecca, the mushrikeen of Mecca, they heard about the arrival of Prophet ﷺ. When they heard the arrival of Prophet ﷺ and his companions, they felt threatened. They thought that Prophet ﷺ and his companions have come to attack Mecca. So they sent some of their men to Hudaybiyah to stop Prophet ﷺ and his companions from entering Mecca. When they came to their place in Hudaybiyah, they inquired, "Why have you guys come here for?" Prophet ﷺ has said that we have come to perform Umrah. So the Mushrikeen Mecca and the leaders, they told Prophet ﷺ and his companions that you will not be able to perform Umrah this year, and they stopped him. Long story short, in summary, Prophet ﷺ and the Mushrikeen of Mecca and the leaders, they made a peace treaty. They made a contract that, okay, this year we will not perform Umrah, but next year you guys will be able to come and perform Umrah in Mecca. Some of the Sahaba, like Umar radiallahu anh, they were unhappy with this treaty. They felt like Islam was strong enough to fight the Mushrikeen and go and perform Umrah. And they did not like this treaty because it was very one-sided. So Prophet ﷺ afterwards told the Sahaba, even though they did not perform Umrah, to shave off their hair, do halaq. And those of us who go to Umrah, we know that the shaving of the hair is done after the Umrah. But in this case, Prophet ﷺ told his companions to shave off the hair even before the Umrah was done. But a lot of the Sahaba, due to their upset, because they were grieved by this treaty, they did not follow the instructions of Prophet ﷺ. The scholars say in history this was the first time that Sahaba did not follow the instruction of Prophet ﷺ straight away. So Prophet ﷺ felt a bit upset. He went into his tent, and when Aisha radiallahu anha, his wife, saw the upset on his face and the grievance on his face, she inquired, "O Prophet ﷺ, why do you seem upset?" Prophet ﷺ narrated the story of what just happened, that he instructed the Sahaba to shave off their head, but some of them were reluctant. So Aisha radiallahu anha advised him, "O Prophet, call your barber, shave off your hair, and go out amongst the Sahaba." So Prophet ﷺ called his barber, he shaved off his hair, and he went out amongst the Sahaba. When the Sahaba saw Prophet ﷺ's head shaved, one by one, they started to shave off their hair. This was the impact of an action. The words did not affect, but the action affected. So brothers, sometimes, as the saying goes, the actions speak louder than words. My brothers, it is estimated 95% of our actions and our characters is built upon looking up to an individual. A lot of us, we tend to look up to a certain individual and we learn our traits from them. Sadly, in today's 24/7 media saturated environment, we pick the wrong role models. We tend to go for people who are athletes. We tend to pick role models who are in the entertainment department without differentiating between a role model and an athlete. A role model is a person who possesses the qualities of goodness, the outlook that we want, the people who want us to affect us in a good way. On the other hand, heroes are people who possess certain prowess, certain qualities that we want to have, but their lifestyle we do not want to live. My brothers, fortunately, Islam has been peppered with numerous role models for us, men, women and children. And Prophet ﷺ was the best of role models. Allah SWT in the Quran, He says, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. That indeed, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, indeed Allah has done a favor upon the mu'mineen. إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, when He set down a prophet from amongst them. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ, He recites the Quran from the book. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, and He purifies them. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and He teaches them the knowledge, the book, and He teaches them wisdom. In another place, Allah SWT says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. For you indeed, in the way, in the pattern, in the footsteps of Prophet ﷺ is the best way. My brothers, Prophet ﷺ was the best of characters. He was compassionate, he was kind, he was known as Al-Amin, the truthful. Even Prophet ﷺ, Allah told him that follow the footsteps of the pious previous prophets. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَى اللَّهُ فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِي. The old prophets, those prophets who passed before you, follow in their footsteps because they have been guided and you will be guided as well. So if the prophet was told to follow the footsteps of the previous prophets, we have to follow a role model. And the best of role models is Prophet ﷺ. My brothers, I would like to tell you some of the role models that Prophet ﷺ, some of the exemplary examples Prophet ﷺ left for us. A lot of us sitting here are youngsters. Young and old, we all like to look good in appearance. We like to dress well. We like to look after ourselves in terms of looks. We try to groom ourselves. We try to look smart. We try to look intelligent. There's nothing wrong with that. Islam promotes and Prophet ﷺ encourages a person to appear good, look good, groom yourself. Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ جَمِيلٌ يُحِبُّ الْجَمَالِ. That indeed Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. To look after oneself is part of Islam. Prophet ﷺ, the companion described Prophet ﷺ as a person who was neither too tall that he would overpower everybody, neither was he too short that he would be ignored. He was broad-shouldered. He had thick set of hair. He was radiant. His face used to be glowing when he used to be in a room. When he used to walk, it's as if he was gliding. Hassan ibn Thabit, the poet of Prophet ﷺ, describes the beauty of Prophet ﷺ in a poem. He says, وَأَحْسَنَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَقَتْتُ عَيْنِي, that no eyes has seen any beauty more beauty than Prophet ﷺ. وَأَجْمَلَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدُ النِّسَاءُ, and no woman has given a more beautiful child birth to, no woman has given a birth to a more beautiful child than Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. وأحسن منك لم ترقت عيني وأجمل منك لم تلد النساء خلقت مبرأ من كل عيب. You have been created without any sins. كأنك خلقت كما تشاء. You have been created the way you have wished. Another Sahabi, a companion of Prophet says, once in the night of full moon, Prophet was sitting in the masjid with a red garment. I would look at the full moon and I would look at Prophet ﷺ. Wallahi, by Allah, Prophet ﷺ was much more beautiful than the moon. My brothers, if we want to look good, follow the path of Prophet ﷺ, follow the appearance of Prophet ﷺ, how he dressed, how he looked, and inshallah you will find that beauty lies within Prophet ﷺ. My brothers, if we want to look at fatherhood, any of us sitting here want to be a good father to our children. It's very important that we as fathers, as parents, that we are good to our children. Prophet ﷺ was the best of fathers. He fathered 7 children, 4 daughters, 3 sons. All his sons died in their infancy. His daughters died once in his lifespan, except for Fatima radiallahu anha, who also died close to after his death. Once, when his son Ibrahim, who died in his infancy, was on his deathbed, Prophet ﷺ went to visit him. When he went to visit him, he put him on his lap and his eyes started weeping. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, a Sahabi who was accompanying him, looked at Prophet ﷺ and said, "O Prophet ﷺ, even you are weeping?" Prophet ﷺ said, "Abdurrahman ibn Auf, this is mercy. Me weeping for my son, this is humanity. A person should have love for their child. Be kind to your children. When you go home today, you open the door. If you have children and they run towards you, you are a good parent. On the other hand, if you go home, your children are hiding because you always have a thunderous temperament, then that's not a good fatherhood. That's not a good sign." Prophet ﷺ was kind. Another story of Prophet ﷺ's compassion towards children is narrated by Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu was a Sahabi who spent 10 years in the company of Prophet ﷺ. He used to live with Prophet ﷺ for 10 years. He was known as the person who used to carry Prophet ﷺ's sandals. Whenever Prophet ﷺ used to go somewhere, he used to always be with him. So imagine how much he learnt. He spent 10 years with the Prophet ﷺ in his household. He describes a story. He says, "I had a little brother. His name was Abu Umayr. Abu Umayr was a Sahabi who was 2 to 3 years old at the time of Prophet ﷺ. He used to frequent the masjid and he used to come to the masjid of Masjid al-Nabawi and he used to play and he used to run around in the masjid. Once Anas ibn Malik says to Prophet ﷺ, "Oh Prophet ﷺ, my little brother Abu Umayr, his little bird who he used to have as a pet has died and he's very upset about this." Prophet ﷺ said to Anas ibn Malik, "Anas, stand up, let's go and visit your little brother." Can you imagine, my brothers? Prophet ﷺ, who was a man who had the world's problem on his shoulders, he had the ummah to guide, he had the Quran revealing to him, he had the hadith, he had the companions to guide, he had the mushrikeen of Makkah trying to attack him. He left all this and he stood up and he goes, "Let's go and visit your little brother because he seems to be upset." When he went to the house of Anas ibn Malik and Abu Umayr, he went to the little boy and he asked him what has happened. The little boy started weeping and he said, "Oh Prophet, I had a little bird called a nu'ayd, a sparrow, and this little bird has passed away." Prophet ﷺ said to him that, Ya Aba Umayr, ماذا فعل النُّعَيْد? That, "Oh Abu Umayr, what has happened to your nu'ayd?" In such a nice and delicate and a caring voice. The little boy then went to Prophet ﷺ, started weeping, telling him that this was a pet I had for so many years and now he passed away. This was the compassion of Prophet ﷺ, my brothers. Ibn Hajar Asqalani, from this little hadith of Prophet ﷺ visiting Abu Umair to take care, to let Abu Umair weep on his shoulders and to go and visit him, took out more than 100 fiqh masail from just this one hadith about the fiqh of if you're allowed to keep a pet. Are you allowed to keep a pet in the house? Are you allowed to eat a bird? Are you allowed to cage a bird? Are birds considered to be pet? So many masail have been derived just from this one hadith. But in conclusion, my brothers, this was the mercy and the compassion of Prophet ﷺ. In other hadith, the Sahaba would narrate that Prophet ﷺ would sometimes invite the children to the masajid and he would eat fruits, and sometimes the seed of the fruit he would chuck at the children as a joke, and they would love this kind of attitude from Prophet ﷺ. Sometimes the Sahaba would narrate that Prophet ﷺ would be in a camel and he would be riding on the streets of Medina. He would see a certain group of children playing. He would instruct his camel to sit. He would go and he would shake each and every one of the children's hands. Yusahifu yadan biyadin. One by one he would shake the children's hand. Nowadays when children come to the masjid, uncles and everybody is shouting at the children. Brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ encouraged the children to come to the masjid. We should be good and we should be compassionate to our children. They are the future leaders of Islam. My brothers, also next, if we want to look at the fatherhood of Prophet ﷺ, also Fatima Aisha radiallahu anha narrates that Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would be sitting in his house and his daughter Fatima radiallahu anha would come to their house, he would straight away stand up from his seat, he would kiss her hands, and he would make sure that she sits on the seat that he was sitting. And whenever he used to go to her house, she used to stand up, kiss his hands, and make sure that he sits on the seat that she was sitting on. This was the love and the compassion between the Prophet and his daughter. My brothers, if we want to look at leadership, a lot of us may be here who are leaders in our community, maybe leaders and managers in our work department. Look at the leadership of Prophet ﷺ, how he dealt with justice, how he was compassionate in his dealing, how he was caring in his justice. We hear about the story of a man once who came to Prophet ﷺ masjid, a Bedouin, an Arabi. Bedouin people, obviously in them days, they didn't have social skills. They were a bit uncivilized. This man, a Bedouin man, came to the masjid and he started urinating in the corner of the masjid of Prophet ﷺ. The Sahaba were enraged. What is this man doing? He's urinating in the masjid, a pure place. All of them ran towards the man, trying to scold him and trying to shout at him. Prophet ﷺ stopped them. He said, stop. Let the man finish what he's doing. And after the man finished, Prophet ﷺ called him and said to him that, oh man, this is their place of worship. This is the masjid, it's a house of Allah. We do not do such things. This is a place of purity. If you want to urinate, there is a designated place for it. But he was compassionate with his dealing. And this man, because of these few words of compassion, he changed his life. On the other hand, if he was to scold him and shout at him, this man would have run away from the masjid and never come back. So brothers, as managers, as leaders, as community leaders, we have to make sure whenever any dealing comes to us, read the biography of Prophet ﷺ, read his leadership skills. Another incident we hear about Prophet ﷺ is the famous story of an old woman who used to always put harmful objects in the path of Prophet ﷺ whenever he used to be walking. Anywhere Prophet ﷺ used to walk, he used to find a harmful object in his path. Prophet ﷺ used to always remove it, and he knew who it was. It was an old woman in his neighborhood. She used to get entertainment. She used to get joy out of seeing Prophet ﷺ getting harmed, being in difficulty. So she used to place objects in his path, so Prophet ﷺ had to lift it up, move it, and then walk. Just an inconvenience, petty inconvenience. she used to get a bit of joy out of this. This used to happen for so many days. One day Prophet ﷺ saw that there was nothing in his path. So he was a bit astonished. Like, what happened? Why is this woman not leaving something? Has she changed her mind? So she inquired about the old woman, that this lady who used to always leave something on my path, where has she gone? So he found out that this old lady was ill. That's why she couldn't get out of bed, so she couldn't cause him the inconvenience. So Prophet ﷺ, instead of getting happy that this lady always causing me problems, good that she's now in bed ill. Rather, Prophet ﷺ went to her house, visited the house, knocked on the door, went inside, and he inquired about her health. When she saw this, that this man I have been harming for so many years, even after all this difficulty, he's coming and he's asking about me. He's looking after me. He's asking about my health. Through this compassion, this lady repented and she promised to never ever harm the Prophet ﷺ again. My brothers, these stories are just examples of how Prophet ﷺ would deal with compassion, how he was a role model, how he would make sure that by example he would lead the way. The Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith, he says that every Muslim should try to imitate the lifestyle of Prophet ﷺ. Anybody who imitates the life of Prophet ﷺ will be with them in Jannah. Prophet ﷺ in a hadith he says, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab. A person will be with the person who he loves. If our love is for a star, or for an athlete, for a famous person, then we will be with that person in the day of judgment. If our love is for the Prophet, if our love is for Allah, if our love is for the Sahaba, then we'll be amongst them in the day of judgment. The Prophet ﷺ taught us in every single thing. Every single thing Prophet ﷺ taught us. The Sahaba used to say, مَا تَرَكَ مِنْ خَيْرٍ إِلَّا وَدَلَّنَا عَلَيْهِ. Prophet ﷺ did not leave any good except he taught us it. وَلَا شَرًّا إِلَّا عَذَّرَنَا مِنْهُ. And he did not leave any bad deeds except he warned us from it. حَتَّى الْخِرَاءَةَ. Even to the extent of how to clean ourselves after using the toilet. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to act upon everything that's been said. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات وما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر، وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر، وأصدقهم حياء عثمان، وأقضاهم علي، وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة، والحسن وحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة، وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم، ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. أنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا وأقيموا صلاة الخلل. Brothers, at the back, please make sure that you're standing shoulder to shoulder. Make sure anybody at the back, please try to come and find space at the back. Anybody, brothers at the back, please make sure you stand shoulder to shoulder as well. استووا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.